We've already gone over the best coasters from A to Z. We've already gone over the worst coasters from A to Z. So there's only one thing left to do. Let's talk DEFUNCT. You may have noticed a lot of DEFUNCT coasters on the worst from A to Z video. That's no surprise. Bad coasters get torn down all the time. But not every coaster that got torn down is bad. Sometimes, coasters close because of maintenance, or because the park shuts down. Let's honor the ones that we have lost. These are the world's best DEFUNCT coasters, from A to Z. First, thanks to the Pirate Princess 23 for this video idea. Let's start from the top. A. I want to give a shout out to Alpine Bobsled at Great Escape. That was just torn down last year, and I was able to get one ride in 2021, and it was a lot of fun. This one goes to Avalanche at Timber Falls Adventure Park. This looks like the best S&S wooden coaster, located at this tiny roadside park in Wisconsin Dells. 89 feet tall, those short 3-car trains whipping over its hills. And it would have been great to still have this around, just a mile from Mount Olympus. This opened in 2004 and closed in 2017. B. Great Adventure fans may point to Batman and Robin the Chiller. Busch Gardens fans may point to Big Bad Wolf. But I think it's the coaster that made the Wolf possible, Bat at Kings Island. This was the first attempt at a modern suspended coaster. Aerodynamics taking a big chance on this, and it sounds like the ride was insane. It was too insane. The train swinging out at 90+ degrees was putting too much stress on the track, and 2 years after it opened, it was gone. The design was just unsustainable, but it looks like it made for an epic ride. This opened in 1981 and closed in 1983. C. Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This was one of many dual-track wooden coasters built in the 70s, but this one was the world's tallest and fastest coaster when it opened in 1978. 125 feet tall, 62 miles an hour, over 4,300 feet of track. And when it opened, it was so much more intense than when it was closed in 2014. It was modified to slow it down and leveled out to reduce some of the best airtime. Still, this was my favorite ride in the park for some time, but over the years it lost popularity, and Six Flags made the decision to RMC it. D. There was no shortage of options here. Deja Vu at Magic Mountain was pretty great. Dododonpa just closed at Fuji-Q Highland, but I'm going with Dueling Dragons at Islands of Adventure, the only dueling B&M coaster. This opened with 3 near-miss moments, designed to interact with each other and provide a great ride. Each track having 3,200 feet and 5 inversions. B&M has been around for 34 years, and this is the only coaster that is officially defunct, losing popularity over the years after a couple accidents made him stop dueling, and the coaster not really fitting into the Wizarding World retheme, this being replaced by Hagrid's in 2019. E. Eagle Fortress at Everland. Let's go to South Korea for the world's greatest suspended coaster. This rising up the side of a mountain and winding its way down, never seeming to come that far off the ground, and doing nothing but picking up speed the whole way. I know, not too many people got to ride this, so watch the POV if you have a chance and see what you missed out on. This opened in 1992 and reached the end of its service life in 2009. F. Firehawk at Kings Island. This was moved to Kings Island in 2007 as the first new coaster under Cedar Fair's ownership, having been extracted from Geauga Lake in 2006. This was put next to another F coaster, Flight of Fear, located in the park's X-Space section, repainted red, and right away became one of the best rides in the park. This Vekoma Flying Dutchman would start you on your back, flip you over so you're in the flying position, and go into 5 inversions, including a vertical loop on your back. These coasters had a lot of moving parts and haven't been easy to maintain, so after the 2018 season, it was announced to be shut down and scrapped, using some of its parts to keep Nighthawk alive at Carowinds. It only served 12 seasons at Kings Island. G. Some people may have enjoyed the original Gwazi. I can't speak to that, but most people just remember the pain, so I'm giving this to Grease Lightning at California's Great America, Kentucky Kingdom, and Astroworld. All of these are Schwarzkopf shuttle loops. The ones at Great America and Kentucky Kingdom using a weight drop launch. The one at Astroworld using a flywheel. These used to be everywhere, but hardly exist today. Launching the train into a loop, a spike, then doing it backwards. Going back through the station into a back spike, and then the ride coming to an end. California's Great Americas was removed in 2002, moved to Discovery Kingdom but was never rebuilt. Same with Astroworlds. That was closed with the park in 2005, moved to Joyland in Texas but was never rebuilt. Kentucky Kingdoms closed with the park in 2009, and when the park reopened in 2014, it was taken out and replaced by Lightning Run. H. Hypersonic XLC at King's Dominion. The very first S&S coaster. This turned a space shot tower on its side and launched you out. 0 to 80 miles an hour in 1.8 seconds, up and over a 165-foot top hat, and then wound its way back to the station. This was all about the rush of that launch and the airtime over the top hat, and as a prototype coaster, it was plagued with issues. This opened in 2001 and only lasted till 2007, closing the year before I made my first trip to King's Dominion. In Vertigo at California's Great America. I didn't have a lot of good options here, so let's go back to California's Great America for this Vekoma inverted boomerang. This opened in 1998 and was taken out in 2010. Its plot of land eventually used for Railblazer, and this finding a new home as Stinger at Dorney Park, that also being removed and scrapped. Even if you hate the common boomerang, the inverted boomerang was different. It gives a much more intense ride experience, and they aren't scattered around everywhere like a normal boomerang. Only 5 of them were built, 3 remain, the only one left in the US being at Kings Island. Jackrabbit at Edora Park. This park in Youngstown, Ohio had a couple solid wooden coasters. Jackrabbit coming back in 1914. Built by the T.M. Hart & Company, only 5 coasters to their name, but this stood 70 feet tall and had 2,200 feet of track. For a coaster from 1914, that's pretty good size, and that's only the half of it. Apparently, it opened with a length around 4,000 feet, but in 1930, it was redesigned to what it became, lasting all the way until 1984 when it closed down with this park. That last year, the trains ran backward and it changed its name to Backwabbit. Honestly, that's the best thing I've heard all day. Catapult at Mirabilandia. This is a traveling coaster that's been on and off the circuit, and it was here at Mirabilandia during the 2006 season, moving on to a park in Oman for a couple years and closing down in 2016. This was a tire-powered coaster, those tires going halfway up the loop, going into a tight turn and back into the loop. This is super weird, super awesome, and something you would definitely build in Roller Coaster Tycoon. Laser at Dorney Park. This double looping Schwarzkopf was relocated here at Dorney in 1986, spending 5 years in Brazil using the name Colossus, also known as Colossus for its first 2 years here. It was 93 feet tall, 2,200 feet of track, and the only one of its kind ever built. This was open until 2008. I got to see it when I was there, but it wasn't open, and it was removed and sold to the German fair circuit, making an appearance at Austria's Wiener Prater in 2019. As intrigued as I am with Fuji-Q's Moonsault Scramble, I have to go with Mindbender at Galaxyland. This custom Schwarzkopf looper opened in 1985, had a tragic accident right after, but it was able to recover and stay open for another 36 years, finally closing in 2019 and being removed in 2023. This was 145 feet tall, had 4,200 feet of track, 3 inversions, and this pulled 5.2 Gs. This was a legendary coaster inside the West Edmonton Mall, and it's a real shame they had to take it out. It was possibly the best indoor coaster ever built, and one of the most intense coasters that ever existed. Nightmare at Crack Axle Canyon at Great Escape. This moved around a lot. Beach Bend, Noble Park Funland, Kentucky Kingdom, Darien Lake, and finally Great Escape from 1999 to 2006. This was an indoor coaster, and the ride itself is pretty good. It's a Schwarzkopf Jetstar 1, the same ride as Tiger Coaster at Indiana Beach. If you can imagine that indoors and in the dark, that's what you got, and that sounds like a really solid ride experience. Ozark Wildcat at Celebration City. Before Outlaw Run, there was another wooden coaster that was the king of Branson. This was built in 2003, part of the renovation that Silver Dollar City gave the park when they took over. This GCI wooden coaster rising up 80 feet and covering 2,600 feet of track. Sadly, this ride only lasted 6 seasons, Celebration City closing its doors at the end of the 2008 season, and as is the case with most wooden coasters, it was torn down and not relocated. Python at Six Flags America. When Great Adventures Lightning Loops was broken up in 1992, one side went to Frontier City, the other went to Wild World, the park now known as Six Flags America. This was an aero shuttle loop, using a winch launch to get the train off the platform, diving down 47 feet into a vertical loop, and going up another platform to do it all backwards. It's a very simple but very extreme ride experience, and would have been great for Six Flags America to keep around. Instead, it was torn down, stored in a field behind Batwing for 7 years, and finally scrapped. Chimera at Aztlan Parque Urbano. I know this coaster isn't gone. It was moved to Indiana Beach and finally reopened this year. But for this purpose, I'm considering it defunct. That's because it'll never run like it ran when it was in Mexico. This has been around the world, from Malaysia to the UK, then Mexico, now America. But this was one of the craziest rides in the world when it was here as Chimera. In the end, it derailed and caused a fatal accident. And rest assured, at Indiana Beach, it'll be toned down. But those who rode it between 2007 and 2019 have great things to say about it. Roar at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. I had a lot of options here. You got another Aero shuttle loop at Magic Springs called Roaring Tornado, Robin Hood at Wallaby Holland, Rolling Thunder at Great Adventure, even Ring Racer at Nürburgring, but I'll give this one to Roar, often considered the best coaster to ever get RMC'd. This was an early GCI, opening in 1999 with an 85-foot drop and 3,300 feet of track, twisting around a compact plot, and when I rode it, I thought it was decent, not great, not bad, but still seemed to have a good reputation. Still, it got the axe in 2015, reopening as Joker in 2016. S. Speed the Ride at NASCAR Cafe. In 2000, the Sahara debuted the NASCAR Cafe, the elephant in the room being Speed the Ride, a 224-foot Premier Rides launch coaster, having 2 launches, the second one getting you up to 70 miles an hour, a loop forward and backward, and that giant vertical spike. The coaster wrapped around the front of the hotel, and it was without a doubt the best coaster in Vegas. The Sahara eventually faded away, closing in 2011, and so did Speed. There have been plans to revive this, but nothing has ever came to be, and to this day, 13 years after closure, it's still sitting in an empty lot at the bottom of the Las Vegas Strip. T. Question is, do I count Top Thrill Dragster as defunct? That's a tough call. I tend to think yes, but for the sake of argument, let's leave it out. Let's go with Texas Cyclone at Six Flags Astroworld. On first glance, this doesn't seem like much, just another copy of the Coney Island Cyclone, but this one was different. We know that some of these were bad, some were very good, and some were elite. This seems like it was elite. After it opened in 1976, famous coaster enthusiast Robert Cartmel said it was his #1 coaster. Just a non-stop mess of twisted track, nothing straight. 93 feet tall, 80-foot drop, 3,200 feet long, and not only was it one of the first coasters at Astroworld, when the park closed in 2005, it was probably still their best. U. Ultra Twister at Six Flags Astroworld. Let's stay right here at Astroworld, the only Togo Ultra Twister to make it to America. Once operating at Great Adventure, moving here in 1990 and closing with this park in 2005. This had a 92-foot drop at 85 degrees, plunging into 3 inversions, all heartline rolls, going into one before a switch track, finishing the course and its last 2 inversions backwards. I really wish I could have ridden this, and I hope I get my chance to ride one when I go to Japan next summer. This was moved to Six Flags America but was never rebuilt. V. With all due respect to Geauga Lake's villain, this goes to Volcano the Blast Coaster at King's Dominion. There was just so much about this coaster. The first ever inverted coaster to have a launch, the first half being set inside a fake mountain, exploding at the top, topping out at 70 miles an hour in 4 inversions. There's no wonder why this was the most popular ride in the park for 20 years. It opened in 1998 and shut down early in 2018. It spent a year under evaluation, and the park decided it was just too much to keep in operation, having to say goodbye to this beloved coaster. W. I had a lot of options here. Wacky Soapbox Racers at Knott's, White Lightning at Carowinds, Whizzer at California's Great America, but I'm going with Wicked Twister at Cedar Point. This was one of the later Intamin Impulse coasters, so Cedar Point was able to get one with a little extra. This would be the first one over 200 feet, over 72 miles an hour, and instead of only the front spike being twisted, the back spike is also twisted, and if you sat in the back row, being launched up that back spike was one amazing experience. This opened in 2002 and was shut down after the 2021 season, cleared out to make way for the new boardwalk. X. I only had a couple options here, one of them being what looks like one of the weaker aero-suspended coasters, Accelerate at Astroworld. The other one is the one I'm going with, X-Flight at Geauga Lake. This is the same coaster as Firehawk at Kings Island. This was just the original home, and this is where I got to ride it for the first time, and it vaulted into my top 5. People love to fly, and when I was 14, I couldn't get enough of it. When Cedar Fair took over, they took this out a year before shutting down the park and sent it to Kings Island. Why? Yahoo Mountain at Yahoo Park. Wouldn't you believe it, there's only one coaster that starts with Y that's defunct. It's a wacky worm in Brazil. There's no pictures of it, so here's some other wacky worms out there. This one opened around 2003 and closed in 2011. Z. Unlike Y, there's a bunch of good defunct Z coasters out there. Zambezi Zinger at Worlds of Fun, Zephyr at Pontchartrain Beach, Zingo at Bell's Amusement Park, Zip and Pippin at Libertyland, but I'm going with Saturn at Space World. This Intamin accelerator opened in 2006 and shut down with this park in 2017, reaching 80 miles an hour in 2.3 seconds, going up and over a 205-foot top hat, then over a hill and back to the station, very similar to the layout of Stealth at Thorpe Park. This was sold to Golden City in Russia, but it's been in storage for 6 years and doesn't seem like there's much going on here, so for now, I'm considering it defunct. That's all I got for now. Let me know what you think of my picks. If you want to see the best and worst coasters from A to Z, check out my links down below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and want to see more like this, please give me a sub. Check out my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to love baseball. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.